to the Business and Bubbly podcast. This is the place for women in business who are on the journey of building their big ideas and want to have fun along the way. It's for those of us who also know we aren't meant to do business or life alone. Hi, I'm Charity Majors, your host and the founder of Business and Bubbly. Think of this kind of like the can I pick your brain chats that you've always wanted to have with those who are doing epic things, plus business besties, hype girls, and getting into massive action towards your next big idea, all in the same place. Oh, and bubbles, because if you're not having fun along the way, you're not doing it right. Together, we'll unlock what it means to be seen, known, heard, and championed all along the ups and downs of entrepreneurship and being a woman in business building big dreams. Each week, I'll bring you a quick sip business tip, as well as interviews from top experts that make you feel like you're getting bottle service for your business. We're having the raw and real conversations and chatting about all the things, the messy middle, the pivots, scaling, the good days and the bad days, because here we do real. It's where we can work hard, play hard, cry it out, and dance it out all at the same time without being judged. This is a place where we are in the arena together and we are each other's biggest fans because most of us have enough comments from the cheap seats. It's where our too much is par for the course and where the gaps of our not enough are filled in by the other epic women that are around us. It's where we can be unapologetic about the mission we are on, about the big dreams on our heart, and the business we are building without having to be perfect or have it all together, or even pretend to. It's a supportive community where business is being done amongst like-minded women, because when money gets in the hands of good women, great things happen. It's a place where you have the support around you to get out of your comfort zone and go after your big ideas, because even when you fail forward or when you reach the top, you know it won't be alone. Also, if you know anything about me, you'll know that I'm obsessed with creating platforms that lift up other women to be seen and heard and known. So with that in mind, I'd like to invite you to list your business on our directory called Find Women in Business. All you've got to do is text the word directory to 833-231-8098, and I'll text you the link back to get your free listing. This is also a great way to connect with other women in business from around the world, so definitely check it out. And now let's get to the good stuff. Grab a glass of your favorite beverage, Prosecco, bubbly water, or whatever your flavor is, and let's dive in. Are you with me? Here we go. Hey, Biz Bestie, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Charity Majors, and I want to ruffle a few feathers today in the best way when it comes to a conversation of there's some really fun chatter and some expansion going on in a lot of different circles of women and in digital marketing, which is so fun. Like, obviously, we're even into fall here in the US, if you're listening to us in the US, where things fall away and we're heading into a season where obviously it's winter, but roots grow deeper and we become firmer in who we are. So there's different shifts in seasons happening, and there's some really fun chatter as far as expansion. And I know even for me personally, I'm being called into new levels of expansion. And this concept of, even with our Rise Summit, and this concept of that it's not necessarily this rise to the top of the ladder compared to this almost like the rise of your chest when you take a big deep breath in, and when you expand, that's more of the rise that I'm talking about. And this is actually the shift that I think that, especially for us as women, especially for us as thought leaders, as influencers, as those of us who are community builders, that it's this actual expansion that's happening, not necessarily a rise to the top where it's like this success, quote unquote, ladder where it's like lonely at the top and all of these stupid facade narrative things that I want nothing to do with. But in kind of this thought leader world, especially for us as women in business, there's this really, it sounds like a good concept. It's a post that almost went viral to where it was like, this is my season where there's going to be a lot of who does she think she is? And when I first read it, I was like, ooh, okay, girl, I'm vibing with this. And then it brought up something really interesting for me, because it was all of a sudden when I thought of that, I heard multiple different ways of how that could be said, right? So if that kind of like sparked something in you, I'm actually going to invite you into a deeper conversation and into a better conversation, into another layer of a conversation of answering this question, and if that resonated with you. So this post, again, it said there's going to be a whole lot, like in this next season, there's going to be a whole lot of the quote unquote, who does she think she is? And at first it was like, oh gosh, like, okay, I'm growing. I know I'm called to expand. But there's going to be external criticism, and there's going to be external chatter, and there's going to be like a whole lot of these girls that are gossiping about me, and like, oh my God, like, who does she think she is? Right? Like, there's that conversation and that voice. And then there can be different voices that can be heard in that same question that was put in a post on social media. So my invitation is to actually expand you and to get you to focus in on different voices, because first of all, what voices that you focus on are actually going to be the space that you create and build from. So if you are being called to expand, if you are building and growing from and creating from this space of, okay, now I'm being called to grow and expand and level up and all this stuff, but you're hearing the voice of, oh my God, who does she think she is? It's actually this very interesting, like fear-based, I'm doing it like despite the criticism, and I'm doing it despite the gossip and despite the whatever. And that isn't always the best place to come from. Like, that actually shows that there is an invitation for deeper healing in the voices that you are focusing on, as well as a perspective shift. Okay. So I'm going to bring you into a little bit of what happens in my mind with the growth that I've gone through. And so now all of a sudden when I read that, so that was one of the things that I heard, because I know for me, I have definitely had the criticism in my life, and I'm not going to lie. Like, as we do grow and as we do expand, there are the people who don't necessarily understand part of your call with where you're going, and they're not meant to go with you into that next season. So unfortunately, as you grow, that can be a part of it. And what I do know is that if you have surrounded yourself with the right community, if you have surrounded yourself with those that are expanding as well, their voices are actually going to be bigger and louder and greater for you than what those criticizing voices used to be in your life or have been before in your life. And you actually find for yourself, and I find for myself, is that I'm not surrounded by that many voices anymore that do that. And it's one of the most beautiful things, because it actually shows what healthy community looks like, and what healthy friendship looks like, and what healthy relationship looks like. So when I do grow and expand, I do know that I'm very intentional about who I'm sharing my dream with and who I'm surrounding myself with, because those voices, they're pouring into me, into the belief, and they're actually saying, you know what, you could actually go bigger than that. And I know who you are, girl. Like, this is totally what you're made for. Like, I see this in you. Like, yes, you are called for this type of a conversation. So it's almost like a shift in, who do you think you are? I love this about you. I totally see this in you. And so it's a different tone of voice in that question. It's the same words. Like, if you see it on the screen, if you see it in text, right? Because a lot, like 93% of communication is actually nonverbal. And so when we just see text on a screen, maybe if you saw that post, it was like, maybe if you heard the chattering voices and the criticism compared to the, ooh, who do you think you are? Like, what are you being called to? What are you expanding into? I can totally see this about you. Then I actually propose to you that your focus on the voices that you listen to is in the wrong place, because it's just a shift of perspective. It's a shift of who you're listening to. It's a quick like shift of actually, that's not the voice that I want to give power to, because the voices and the chatter that we listen to, I'm not pretending that it's not there. Like, if there is that criticism that's there, it actually is just a shift of perspective. It's like what have you tuned your ear to? Just like if you are, like, my husband plays guitar, I used to play piano, I sing. If my husband tunes his guitar to the wrong note, the entire guitar will be off key. But if he has tuned his guitar to the right note, then the guitar is going to sound amazing and he can play any song, right? And so same thing, what have we tuned our ear to? What have we tuned our internal chatter, our internal focus, the internal voices that we listen to? What have we tuned our heart to that says who we are and whose we are and the mission that we're on and the authority that we have been given and the message that is on our heart to give? And that voice is what we are listening to. And so it's more of an invitation of, who do you think you are? And I know who you are. And I love who you are. And I know who I have called you to be and the message that you are called to carry and the way that you are designed and the way that you've divinely been put together and constructed for just a time as this. And so it's not a matter of like, oh my God, who does she think she is? Compared to, who do you think you are? And I know who you are. And so if you hear that shift, if you hear the difference in that question, then my encouragement for you is to absolutely go into a season of, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? And again, like, it could be a powerful season listening to what, like, oh, like, who does she think she is? Like, this is going to be a really good season of who does she think she is? Like, woo. But for me, I know I'm not walking into the next season questioning who I am. I know who I am, what I'm called to do, what heaven says about me. And here's what's really fun is I actually am really good about hearing that about you too. So send me a message because I'm happy to remind you of that and to invite you into the question of, who do you think you are? And to provide the belief and the support and the community around you to answer that question and to remind you of the answer to that question. So instead of, I actually proposed, instead of a season of who does she think she is, let this be a season of, I see who she is. She knows who she is. That you are so grounded in your identity, that you are so rooted in the love and the blessing and the favor that you already have. So that if and when those little chattering voices of the who does she think she is do come in, your answer is, I know who I am. And watch me walk that out. All right, my friend, that's what I have for you today. If this resonated with you, I would love to hear. Send me a message on Instagram. My personal Instagram is Charity Majors, or we have the Business and Bubbly Instagram. Would love, love, love to hear how this shifts your focus and your perspective for this next season for your expansion. And as always, cheers to your success. Thank you so much for listening to the show. I hope it brought some value and some fun into your business and life. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast, and even share the episode with a fellow business bestie who you know will love it. It helps us continue to attract top-level guests and reach more and more women who are on their journey in business just like you. Remember that when money gets in the hands of good women, great things happen. Cheers to your success.